The empire was old. It had existed for 12,000 years. The people were tall and beautiful. Their skin looked like polished silver. Their eyes changed colors based on their feelings. When they were happy, their eyes turned bright gold. When they were sad, their eyes turned deep violet. They lived for thousands of years and thought of themselves as wise and powerful. Queen sat on the crystal throne in the great palace of Prime. She was over 2,000 years old, but she looked young and strong. Her silver hair fell past her shoulders like a waterfall of moonlight. She was a good queen. Her people loved her, but Queen loved one thing more than her empire. She loved her daughter. Princess Lyra was only 60 years old. For this was very young. She was like a human child of 12 or 13. Lyra had her mother's silver skin but her father's curious spirit. She loved to explore the palace gardens. She loved to ask questions about everything. She loved to make her mother laugh. "Mother, why do the stars shine?" Lyra asked one evening. "Because they want to guide lost travelers home," Queen answered with a smile. "Mother, why is the sky purple?" "Because our sun is different from other suns." "Mother, why do you love me so much?" Queen pulled her daughter close. "Because you are my heart walking outside my body." Those were peaceful days, happy days, but peace never lasts forever. The swarm came without warning. They were an insect-like species from the dark edges of the galaxy. They had many legs and hard shells. Their eyes were black and empty of feeling. They did not build or create. They only took. They raided planets and stole people to sell as slaves. They had attacked many small worlds before, but they had never been brave enough to attack the Empire, until now. Perhaps they thought the Empire had grown weak. Perhaps they were just greedy. It did not matter. Thousands of ships filled the sky above Prime. The Royal Guard fought hard. They were brave warriors with advanced weapons. They killed many, but they did not care about dying. For every that fell, 10 more took its place. They swarmed through the city like locusts. They broke through the palace walls. Queen grabbed a sword from a fallen guard. She had not fought in battle for 500 years, but her body remembered. She cut down after, her silver blood mixing with their green. "Protect the princess," she screamed to her guards. "Get her to safety." But there was no safety. They were everywhere. They crashed through the throne room doors. They came through the windows. They came through holes they made in the walls. Lyra screamed. Queen turned and saw the worst thing she had ever seen in her long life. 3 soldiers held her daughter. They were dragging her toward a hole in the wall where a small transport ship waited. "Lyra!" The queen ran. She killed one, she killed another. She killed 5 more, but she was too slow. There were too many. A soldier hit her from behind. She fell to the marble floor. Another stepped on her back, pinning her down. "Mother, mother!" Lyra's voice was full of terror. Queen tried to rise, but more held her down. She could only watch as her daughter disappeared into the transport ship. She could only listen as her daughter's screams faded away. "Lyra!" The battle ended hours later. The fleet arrived and drove thee away. But the damage was done. Thousands were dead. The palace was in ruins, and Princess Lyra was gone. Queen stood in the destroyed throne room. Her wounds had been treated, but she refused to rest. Her eyes had turned deep violet and would not change back. "Find her," she ordered. "Find my daughter." The search began immediately. The Empire sent ships to every corner of the galaxy. They questioned every they captured. They offered huge rewards for information. They hired the best hunters and trackers in known space. Days passed, then weeks, then months, then years. 3 years, for 3 years, Queen searched. She spent fortunes on mercenaries who promised results and delivered nothing. She begged the Galactic Council for help. The Council expressed sympathy but did nothing useful. She sent spies into the criminal underworld where slaves were bought and sold. They found nothing. Princess Lyra had vanished. She was lost somewhere in the vast darkness between stars, just another piece of merchandise in the endless slave trade. One small girl among millions of stolen souls. Queen stopped sleeping. She stopped eating properly. She ruled her empire during the day and searched for her daughter at night. Her advisors worried about her health. Her people prayed for her, but nothing changed. Some nights the queen would sit in Lyra's old room. She would hold her daughter's toys and cry. She would remember Lyra's laugh, Lyra's questions, Lyra's warm hugs. She would whisper into the darkness, "I will find you, I promise. I will never stop looking." But deep in her heart, hope was dying. 3 years was a long time. Many slaves did not survive 3 years. And even if Lyra was alive, the galaxy was so big. How could anyone find one small girl in all that vastness? Then, on a day that seemed like every other day, something changed. The humans arrived. Queen had heard of humans. They were a young species from a small planet called Earth. They had only been traveling among the stars for a few hundred years. They were considered primitive by the elder races. Their ships were slow. Their weapons were simple. Their lives were terribly short. A human lived for maybe 80 or 90 years. They were like butterflies compared to the ancient. But the humans had joined the Galactic Council and were sending soldiers to help with peacekeeping missions. A small group of human soldiers arrived in space. They were there for politics, not for war. They were supposed to smile for cameras and shake hands with diplomats. Nobody expected them to do anything important. Nobody expected one of them to change everything. Park was tired. He was 34 years old and he felt like 60. He had been a soldier for 12 years. He had seen too many battles, lost too many friends, and spent too many nights sleeping on cold ground under alien skis. He had 3 months left on his contract. 3 months and then he could go home. Back to Earth. Back to Korea. Back to his mother's cooking and his father's bad jokes. Back to a normal life where nobody shot at him. Just 3 more months, he told himself every morning. Keep your head down, don't cause trouble, go home alive. Was not a hero, he was just a sergeant. He followed orders, trained new soldiers, and tried to stay alive. He was good at his job, but he did not want glory. He wanted peace. The mission to space was supposed to be easy. Smile at aliens, look friendly, show that humans could be trusted, simple politics, no danger. His commanding officer was Captain. She was a small woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She was tough but fair, respected her. Remember, Captain told her soldiers before they arrived, we are guests here, be polite, be professional, do not start any fights. Yes, Captain, everyone said. For the first few days, everything was boring. They attended meetings. They toured the palace. They ate strange food and smiled at strange aliens. They were polite but clearly did not think much of humans. They looked at the human soldiers the way adults look at children playing dress-up. Did not mind. He was used to being underestimated. Let them think humans were weak and primitive. He just wanted to finish his time and go home. Then came the diplomatic dinner. It was a fancy event with important. Stood against a wall in his dress uniform, trying to look professional while being incredibly bored. He watched the aliens talk and drink and laugh. He counted the minutes until he could leave. A noble approached him. The alien was tall and thin, with silver skin and violet eyes. He held a glass of something that glowed blue. Human, the noble said. His voice was slurred. He was drunk. You are human, yes. Yes, sir, answered politely. Interesting, so small, so brief, the noble laughed sadly. Your whole life is like a single breath to us. How do you bear it? Shrugged, we stay busy. The noble nodded. He looked around the room with sad eyes. We live so long and yet we could not save her. 3 years of searching, and we cannot find one child. Sorry. The princess, our princess, little Lyra, the noble's voice cracked. Taken by the sold as a slave somewhere in the outer rim. The queen has spent everything trying to find her, every resource, every favor, nothing. Felt something twist in his chest. I'm sorry to hear that. She was so young, so full of life. She used to run through these halls laughing. The noble wiped his eyes. Now the queen sits alone in darkness. Her eyes have been violet for 3 years. Do you know what that means? It means endless grief. It means hope is dying. The noble wandered away, leaving alone with his thoughts. That night could not sleep. He kept thinking about the princess, a child stolen from her mother, a mother who could not find her daughter. 3 years of searching with all the resources of an ancient empire and nothing. Something about it bothered him. Not the sadness of it, though that was terrible, something else. Something in his soldier's brain was picking at the problem. The next morning he started researching. He read everything he could find about the swarm. He studied their attack patterns, their slave routes, their known trading partners. He looked at star charts and shipping records and intercepted communications. They had searched everywhere, but had they searched correctly? They were an ancient and proud people. They thought in terms of empires and diplomacy. They sent official requests and hired respectable mercenaries. But the slave trade was not respectable. It lived in shadows and dark corners. It operated in places where official requests meant nothing. You needed to think like a criminal to find criminals. Thought like a criminal. 3 days later, Captain found him in his quarters. Star charts covered every surface. His eyes were red from lack of sleep. He had not shaved. "Sergeant Park, what are you doing?" Looked up. "I think I know where she is, Captain." Was quiet for a moment. She looked at his charts, his notes, his careful analysis. "This is not our mission," she said. "No, ma'am. They have been searching for 3 years. They have resources we cannot match." "Yes, ma'am. If you go after this girl, you could die. You could cause a diplomatic incident. You could ruin your career and your life." Nodded, "Yes, ma'am." Captain looked at him for a long time. She had known for 5 years. He was a good soldier, reliable, calm. He never caused trouble. "Why?" she asked finally. "Why do you care so much?" Thought about it. He thought about his own mother back on Earth. He thought about how she would feel if someone took him and she could never find him. He thought about 3 years of endless grief. "Because someone should care," he said. "Someone should try. Everyone keeps saying it's impossible, but someone should try anyway." Sighed, she reached into her pocket and pulled out a ship key. She placed it on his desk. "You have 3 weeks of leave saved up. I suggest you take it, go somewhere far from here, somewhere I have no authority." She walked to the door, then stopped. "Sergeant Park." "Yes, Captain." "Don't die." Picked up the ship key. It was warm in his hand. "I'll do my best, ma'am." That night left Prime in a small scout ship. He told no one where he was going. He carried enough weapons for a small war. 3 months until retirement. He had been so close to a peaceful life, so close to going home. But some things were more important than peace. Some things were more important than safety. Some things were worth risking everything for. A mother needed her daughter. Flew into the darkness between stars, hunting for a ghost. The station floated in the empty space between empires. No government controlled this region. No laws applied here. It was a place for criminals, smugglers, and people who did not want to be found. They called it paradise. Thought it should be called hell. The station was huge and ugly. It was built from pieces of old ships and stolen technology. Lights blinked in random patterns. Strange music played from hidden speakers. The air smelled like chemicals and fear. Had arrived 2 hours ago. He wore civilian clothes and carried fake identification. His story was simple. He was a rich human looking to buy exotic servants. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy. Most aliens here had never seen one in person. They found him interesting but not threatening. What would a primitive human do with alien slaves? Perhaps he was cruel, perhaps he was stupid, perhaps he was both. The criminals did not care. They only cared about money. walked through the station's corridors. He kept his face calm and his eyes open. He was memorizing everything: the guard positions, the security cameras, the exits, the patrol patterns. The station had 4 main sections. The first section was for entertainment: bars, gambling rooms, drug dens. This was where the customers spent their time between auctions. Avoided this section. He did not want to draw attention. The second section was for business: meeting rooms, offices, communication centers. This was where deals were made. Pass through quickly, noting the locations of important rooms. The third section was for housing: small rooms for workers and visitors, larger suites for wealthy buyers. This was where had rented a room. It was tiny and dirty, but it had a lock on the door. The fourth section was the holding area. This was where the slaves were kept, rows and rows of cages, each holding desperate souls waiting to be sold. Guards watched every entrance. Cameras covered every angle. Needed to get into the fourth section. He needed to find Princess Lyra. He needed to do it without dying. On his first day, he just watched. He sat in bars and listened to conversations. He learned how the station operated. He learned the schedule of the auctions. He learned which guards could be bribed and which could not. On his second day, he got closer. He pretended to be interested in buying slaves. A greasy alien with too many eyes showed him around the holding area. "We have excellent merchandise," the alien said proudly. "Strong workers, beautiful companions, whatever you desire." Felt sick. The cages were small and dirty. The beings inside them had empty eyes. They had given up hope. They were just waiting to see what terrible fate awaited them. "I am looking for something special," said carefully. "Something rare." "Ah, a collector. I understand completely." The alien rubbed its many hands together. "We have some very rare items arriving for tomorrow's auction. Perhaps you would like to preview them." "Yes, I would like that very much." The alien led him deeper into the holding area. They passed cages full of beings from a dozen different species. Some cried, some screamed, most just sat in silence. Then saw her. She was in a cage near the end of the row. A young female with silver skin that had turned dull from poor food and no sunlight. She was thin and weak, but her eyes were not empty. Her eyes burned with fire. As watched, a guard walked past her cage. The guard hit the bars with a stick to scare the prisoners. The other slaves flinched away, but the girl did not flinch. She glared at the guard with pure hatred. "That one is rare," the alien guide said, noticing interest. "Young female, royal bloodline according to our sources. Very valuable. The bidding will start very high." His heart was pounding, but he kept his face calm. "Interesting. When is the auction?" "Tomorrow evening, 6 hours from now by station time." 6 hours, nodded slowly. "I will attend." He returned to his room and locked the door. His mind was racing. He had found her, Princess Lyra, alive, but she would be sold in 6 hours to whoever had the most money. Did not have much money. He had his military salary, which was small. He had some savings. In total, he had maybe enough to buy a used vehicle on Earth. Here, it was nothing. Rich criminals from across the galaxy would bid fortunes for a princess. He could not buy her, he had to take her. Spread his equipment on the bed. 2 pistols, 1 rifle, 4 grenades, a knife, armor that could stop a few shots, medical supplies, a portable computer. It was not enough for an army. It was barely enough for one desperate man. He looked at the station maps he had memorized. The holding area was heavily guarded. The exits were watched. The station had its own security force of over 200 armed guards. Any reasonable person would say it was impossible. Smiled grimly. Humans were not always reasonable. He started planning. He needed a distraction. Something big enough to pull guards away from the holding area. The station's power core was in the lower section. If something happened to it, emergency protocols would activate. Guards would be sent to protect essential systems. He needed a path. The ventilation shafts were too small for a human, but there were maintenance tunnels that connected different sections. If he could access them, he could move through the station without being seen. He needed an exit. His ship was docked in Bay 7. It was a 10-minute run from the holding area, too long if anyone was chasing him. He would need to disable the station's tractor beams first. Worked through the night. He calculated distances and times. He planned for things that could go wrong. He accepted that he would probably die. But if he succeeded, a mother would see her daughter again. A little girl would go home. Some things were worth dying for. When the station's lights dimmed to indicate night cycle, put on his armor. He loaded his weapons. He said a quiet prayer to gods he was not sure existed. Then he went to war. The explosion shook the entire station. Had placed charges on 3 of the power core's cooling systems. He had timed them to go off exactly 2 minutes apart. The first explosion damaged the core. The second made it overheat. The third forced an emergency shutdown. The lights went out. Emergency red lighting flickered on. Alarms screamed through every corridor. All personnel to emergency stations. Power core failure. This is not a drill. Smiled in the darkness. The distraction was working. Guards were running past him, heading toward the power section. They did not look at the human in dirty clothes standing against the wall. They had bigger problems. He had 16 minutes. That was how long it would take to restart the backup power systems. After that, full security would return. Cameras would work again. Doors would lock automatically. His window would close. 16 minutes to save a princess. Moved fast. He had memorized the route through the maintenance tunnels. Left, right, down a ladder, right again. The tunnels were dark and narrow. He hit his head twice. He did not slow down. 7 minutes to reach the holding area. He came out of a maintenance hatch behind a stack of supply crates. The holding area was in chaos. Slaves were screaming in their cages. Guards were running in different directions, trying to maintain order while also responding to the power emergency. Counted the guards, 12, too many to fight directly, but they were spread out, distracted, confused. He moved between shadows. His training took over. Years of combat experience guided his hands. He came up behind the first guard silently, a quick strike to the neck. The guard fell without a sound. 11 guards. He dragged the body behind some crates, took the guards, moved on. The second guard was watching the main entrance, approach from the side, another silent takedown. 10 guards. But he was running out of time, 9 minutes left. He could not be silent anymore. Stepped out from behind cover and started shooting. The guards were surprised. They had expected problems with the power core, not an armed attacker. Used their confusion. His first shot hit a guard in the chest. His second hit another in the leg. His third took out the lights above, creating more darkness. The remaining guards started shooting back. Plasma bolts flew through the air. One hit shoulder armor. It held, but barely. Another grazed his leg. He felt blood running down his calf. He kept moving. Keep moving or die. That was the rule of combat. Stay still and you are a target. Move and you might survive. He threw a grenade. The explosion scattered 3 guards. He shot 2 more while they were disoriented. A guard rushed him with a blade, blocked with his rifle and kicked the alien in the knee. The guard fell, shot him. 5 minutes left. Only 3 guards remained. They had found cover and were shooting carefully. Was pinned behind a metal pillar. His leg was bleeding badly. His shoulder ached where the armor had been hit. He had 2 grenades left. He threw one to the left. When the guards ducked, he threw the other to the right. The double explosion filled the area with smoke and noise. Charged through the smoke. He found 1 guard still moving and ended him. The other 2 were down. The holding area was clear. For now. Ran to the cages. The slaves stared at him with wide eyes. Who was this bloody human? What did he want? "Princess Lyra," he shouted. "Where is the princess?" No one answered. They were too scared. Ran down the rows of cages looking at every face, so many desperate souls. He wished he could save them all. There, the last row, the young with the burning eyes. She pressed herself against the back of her cage when she saw him. She was terrified. 3 years of slavery had taught her to fear anyone who came for her. Used the stolen to open the cage. The door swung open. Lyra did not move. "Princess Lyra," said. He spoke in broken. He had practiced these words for days. "Your mother sends her love. I am taking you home." Lyra stared at him. Blood was running down his face from a cut on his forehead. His armor was burned and dented. He looked like a monster from a nightmare. Who are you?" she whispered. "A friend, I promise. Your mother is waiting." "My mother." 3 minutes left. "We must go now. Please trust me." Lyra did not trust him. She had learned that trust led to pain, but something in his eyes was different from the slavers, something almost kind. She took his hand, pulled her out of the cage. They ran through the holding area. More guards were coming. He could hear their boots on the metal floors. "Stay behind me," he ordered. They entered the maintenance tunnels. It was dark and hard to move fast. Lyra was weak from 3 years of poor food. She stumbled often. Half carried her. 2 minutes left. They emerged near the docking bays. His ship was close, so close, but guards were between them and freedom. Did not hesitate. He charged forward, firing with one hand, pulling Lyra with the other. A plasma bolt hit his side. He grunted in pain but kept moving. Another hit his leg. He stumbled but did not fall. Lyra screamed as green blood splattered on her. A guard had gotten too close, had dealt with him. 1 minute left. The ship was there. Bay 7. The hatch was open. Pushed Lyra inside and turned to hold off the pursuing guards. He shot 3 more before his rifle ran out of power. He drew his pistol and kept shooting. "Go to the cockpit," he yelled at Lyra. "Strap yourself in." 30 seconds left. The backup power came online. Lights flickered. The station systems began to restart. In moments, the tractor beams would activate. They would be trapped. Threw his last grenade at the approaching guards and dove into the ship. He slammed the hatch closed and ran to the cockpit. Lyra was strapped into the co-pilot's seat, her silver face pale with terror. Started the engines. The ship roared to life. He pushed the throttle forward. The ship shot out of the docking bay just as the tractor beam came online. It grazed them but could not grab hold. They were out, they were free. Behind them, Paradise Station screamed with alarms. Ships were launching to chase them, but had planned for this too. He had programmed a jump course before the mission. His finger hit the button. The stars stretched, the ship jumped. They were gone. In the sudden silence of faster-than-light travel, allowed himself to breathe. Then he looked down at his wounds, his leg, his side, his shoulder. He was bleeding badly, too badly. We made it," Lyra asked in a small voice. "We made it," said. Then he fell out of his chair onto the floor. Lyra screamed. She unstrapped herself and knelt beside the human who had saved her. Blood was pooling beneath him. His face was pale. "No, no, no. Do not die. Please do not die." Looked up at her with fatting eyes. Medical kit under the seat. Bandages stopped the bleeding. Lyra found the kit. Her hands shook as she opened it. She did not know how to treat human wounds, but she had to try. This strange, brave, bleeding human had walked into hell for her. She would not let him die. She worked through the night, following his weak instructions, trying to keep him alive until they reached home. Until they reached her mother. Queen was in the council chamber when the message arrived. She had been listening to her advisors discuss trade agreements. It was boring but necessary work. A queen could not stop ruling just because her heart was broken. A guard rushed in. His face was strange, excited, almost afraid. "Your Majesty, a ship has entered our space. It is broadcasting a message." "What message?" asked tiredly. She received many messages, most were nothing important. The guard swallowed. "The message says, I have your daughter." Time stopped. Queen rose from her throne. Her heart was pounding so hard she could barely breathe. 3 years. 3 years of searching, hopping, praying. 3 years of her eyes staying violet with grief. "Show me." They played the message, a human voice, male, speaking broken. "This is Sergeant Park of Earth. I have Princess Lyra. She is alive. She is coming home. Please have medical teams ready. I am wounded." Did not remember leaving the council chamber. She did not remember running through the palace halls. She did not remember pushing past guards and servants. She only remembered one thing: running. She ran faster than she had run in centuries. She ran like a young girl again. She ran like a mother whose child was returning from the dead. The landing platform was crowded. Word had spread quickly. Nobles, guards, servants, common people had all gathered to see if the impossible was true. Had someone really found the lost princess? The human ship appeared in the sky. It was small and ugly by weapons fire. Smoke trailed from one of its engines. It looked like it might fall apart at any moment. It landed badly, skidding across the platform. Guards rushed forward. Medical teams prepared. Everyone held their breath. The ship's hatch opened slowly. A human male emerged first. He was short by standards. His clothes were torn and soaked with blood. His face was pale. He could barely stand. Behind him, helping to support his weight, was a thin girl. Her silver skin was dull. Her clothes were rags, but her eyes burned with fierce, beautiful life. Queen made a sound. It was not a word. It was the sound of a heart breaking and healing at the same time. "Mom!" That voice, that precious voice she had dreamed about for 3 years. "Lyra!" The queen of the empire fell to her knees. She fell right there on the hard metal platform in front of her people, in front of the galaxy. She did not care about dignity. She did not care about royal behavior. She cared only about her daughter. Lyra let go of the human and ran. She ran like she had run as a small child, running to her mother after a bad dream, running to the only person who could make everything better. They crashed together, mother and daughter, arms wrapped around each other so tightly it hurt. "Mom, I'm back, I'm back." Lyra was crying. Queen was crying. Everyone on the platform was crying. "My baby, my precious baby, you came back to me. I never stopped hopping, Mom. I knew you would find me. I knew you would never give up." But Queen had not found her. She pulled back to look at her daughter's face, the face she had dreamed about every night for 3 years. "I did not find you, he did." She looked at the human soldier who had collapsed against his ship. "That human found you." Lyra nodded. "He came into the slave station alone, Mom. He fought through all the guards. He got shot so many times protecting me. He could have died. He almost did die." Queen rose slowly. She walked toward the human. He was conscious but barely. His eyes were half closed. Blood had soaked through the bandages Lyra had applied. He looked up at her and managed a weak smile. "Mission complete," he said. "Package delivered." Knelt before him, a queen kneeling before a common soldier. Her advisors gasped. This was not proper. This was not how royalty behaved. "Did not care." "Why?" she asked. Tears ran down her silver cheeks. "Why did you do this? We offered you nothing. We are strangers to you. You could have died." Thought about the question. It was hard to think. He had lost a lot of blood. "Heard about her at a party," he said slowly. "Noble told me about the missing princess, about you, 3 years of searching, 3 years of grief." "But why did you care? We are nothing to you. We are aliens. We are not your people." Looked at her. His eyes were tired but clear. "I have a mother too, on Earth. She is old and small and she worries about me every day. If someone took me and she could never find me." He paused to breathe. It hurt to breathe. Every mother deserves to hold her child. Every child deserves to go home. Queen closed her eyes. Tears fell faster. "But you are just one human, one small, short-lived human. You are not a hero. You are not a warrior from legends. How did you do this alone?" "Someone had to try," said simply. "Everyone kept saying it was impossible. The said it. The Galactic Council said it. Everyone said nobody could find one lost girl in the whole galaxy. And humans do not believe in impossible. We believe that if something needs to be done, someone should try. Even if they fail, even if they die, trying is what matters." Medical teams finally reached them. Doctors, the best in the Empire, began treating the humans' wounds. Let them work. He was so tired. Lyra came over and took his hand. "Thank you," she said. "Thank you for bringing me home." Squeezed her hand weakly. "You are welcome, princess. Go be with your mother. She missed you very much." Lyra hugged him carefully, avoiding his wounds. Then she returned to her mother's arms. Queen watched the doctors carry the human away. Her violet eyes were changing. Blue was creeping in at the edges, the color of hope, the color of joy returning. "What is his name?" she asked. "Park," Lyra answered. "He is just a sergeant, just a regular soldier." "No," Queen said firmly. "He is much more than that." Later, when woke in the finest hospital room on Prime, he found Queen sitting beside his bed. Lyra was asleep in a chair nearby, holding her mother's hand even in sleep. "How do you feel?" asked. "Like I got shot a lot," admitted. "But alive, that is good." "You have been unconscious for 3 days. Your wounds were very serious. Our doctors had to learn human biology quickly." Looked at the sleeping princess. She looked peaceful, she looked safe. "She is home," he said. "That is what matters." Queen nodded slowly. "The Empire owes you a debt we can never fully repay. Name your reward. Anything within my power to give is yours. Wealth, land, titles, a seat on my council, anything." Thought about it, he could be rich. He could be powerful. He could spend the rest of his short human life in luxury. "A ship home when I am healed," he said. "And maybe a letter I could show my mother. She will never believe this story otherwise." Laughed. It was the first time she had laughed in 3 years. "You ask for so little." "I did not do it for rewards. I did it because it was right. That is enough." Queen looked at this strange human with new eyes. The elder races thought humans were primitive. They thought humans were brief and unimportant, like mayflies compared to the ancient ones. But maybe that was wrong. Maybe living a short life made every moment precious. Maybe humans did great things because they did not have time to wait and plan forever. Maybe their greatest strength was simply refusing to accept that anything was impossible. "You are always welcome on Prime Park of Earth," she said. "You are a friend of the Empire, a friend of my family, a friend of my daughter." Lyra stirred in her sleep. Her eyes opened. She saw awake and smiled. "Mom, he is awake. Can we keep him?" Laughed again. Lyra laughed too, even laughed though it hurt his wounds. "Perhaps we can, little star, perhaps we can." Outside the hospital, news of the rescue was spreading across the galaxy. The story of the human soldier who walked into hell and brought back a princess. The story of stubbornness and courage and a mother's love reunited. Other races began to look at humans differently. These brief creatures with their short lives were capable of more than anyone had realized. They did not accept impossible. They did not give up when things were hard. They just kept trying. And sometimes, against all odds, they succeeded. That was the lesson of Park. That was the lesson of humanity. Never stop trying. Never give up. Never believe that anything is truly impossible. Because somewhere a mother is waiting for her child, and that is worth any risk. That is worth everything.